The growth market mantra to me is a really powerful way of trying to help people think differently about the so-called emerging markets than they might have thought about them in the past. I think the economic might of many of these countries, certainly the four BRICS, is so vital to the world economy that people have to start thinking about just how much the world is changing and what a better place it is as a result of it. Germany is in some ways a lesson to all the major developed countries right now, because if you look at German exports, their structure and pattern of development are literally being turned upside down by the growth markets. Before the end of 2012, it's quite conceivable that Germany will be exporting more to China than it is to its French neighbour. I think within this decade, there's going to be a transformation of thinking in the US, and people are going to realise just how big these countries are going to be for exports for the United States. Post-crisis, the US has got to reinvent itself, and it's not going to be a country where its own over-leveraged consumer dominates life the way it's done the past 20 years. It's going to be a country where exporting to the rest of the world is going to be more important. I devote a chapter to investing in the BRICS and the growth market theme, and in some ways that was the most complicated chapter to write, because there is no single best way. And as I hope I brought out sufficiently, as the next decade develops, issues involving these countries are going to become so much a common part of life that it will cease to be a question, because everything we invest in, whether it's equity, fixed income, public, private markets, are going to be affected by things going on in these countries. I've come across so many powerful anecdotes that I tried to include in the book. About 2 years ago, I was on a personal trip with my wife, and we were traveling around the Yulong River Valley in China. And we came across this small village, and it was pretty run down. And there was this great big billboard across this wall in the middle of nowhere saying, "Success in English equals success in life." And I couldn't believe it. I'm so used in the UK in particular to hearing people talk about how these guys are all going to do well at our expense. And here in the middle of rural China is an advert encouraging China's 1.3 billion people to speak in English, because otherwise they're not going to be successful. The country that really sort of excites me about the next decade is Nigeria. Nigeria has 20% of Africa's population. It's got 4 times more people than South Africa. And if Nigeria got its act together, as it's showing some signs of doing, I have to emphasise coming from a really low base, that is going to be massively important for the whole continent. About 11 years ago, I started off an educational charity called Shine, Support and Help in Education, which is devoted at trying to give money to creative VC-type educational ideas for the most disadvantaged people in urban London. And I thought, if I could write a book and devote the proceeds of it to something like Shine, then that would give me, real specific incentive to get on and complete the book. It's funny, looking back over that decade of the BRICS and having created Shine, at all angles of my life, I believe that education is just so important for everybody. If you can't give people a better education, the world's not going to be a better place.